Hey Weebs and Weirdos, what's your least favorite anime trope? I know I have many. Also, please ignore the fact that my hair is very wet right now. I just took a shower and I really want to get this video out, so I'm kind of in a rush. As much as we all love anime, there are always certain reoccurring things that are problematic. It's sometimes frustrating. Today we're going to start off strong with twincest. I know, that's a very, very strong word. I feel like it is also a huge problem in fan bases where they will ship twins that are like just because. Must I remember like Wincest. But then there's also like Run High School Host Club. I know that those two twins, they do it for like a gag and they do it for like jokes. And because they want different tropes in like their host club, but it's still
true. I am not a crybaby.
Oh, so you're gonna deny it, huh? What about when the two of us are alone playing punishment games? Tell us what happens then, Kaoru.
Weird. I feel like as we age, anime tropes are getting worse and worse. Must we talk about the My Hero fandom? One thing that will always piss me off is that they're not really dead. I'm sorry, if in this universe there is no form of like being able to revive the character, I don't want to see someone go basically dead, there's proof that they're dead, and somehow they're back, especially if they're a villain, okay? I despise that, because then you get the satisfaction that you're looking for because it sets you up for our main character defeating this villain, and then just for the villain to not stay dead. Something that I really also hate is a tsundere with no character development. I get it that sometimes a tsundere can be appealing and funny, and it's one of those tropes where it's like it only truly exists in really anime. I do know that it can get frustrating if tsundere is like a tsundere true and true, and so they're like, I love you, but I'm not gonna show that I love you. I refuse to accept that. Like they're getting married and they're about to say I do, and it's like, it's not like I like you or anything. Why? I know that a lot of people hate on that one anime, Toradora. At least at the end she accepts her love for Ryuji, but even then they fail to really set up a proper romance story. This may or may not be a hot take, but I hate it when they look like a 5-year-old and they're thousands of years old and they're treated as a love interest. That is a lot to unpack there. I don't hate the trope completely, but I do hate it when it's treated in a certain way. You know what I mean? If a character looks younger and you start treating the character like they don't look 5 years old, you know what I mean? There's no defending it. They look 5, they might as well be 5. I don't care. I know that sometimes it becomes a really great area with like characters being technically like teenagers that look really old, and I understand that, but I also know that there's a certain fine line when a character straight up has no matured features and you can just tell. There's a huge difference. Some people use it as an excuse or an opportunity, and that causes a lot of problems. I understand that this specific one is a good opportunity to advance the plot and yeah, blah blah blah, but why does every single time a parent or like some kind of like guardian or teacher has to die? They don't have to, but why do you guys keep killing them off? I get it that like for some of those like dark and edgy animes that like I'll let it slide. We need to have more variety and more diversity for animes. Like I need a main character who has alive and thriving parents who are happy and like treat them well and they're alive for the entire series. Just give me that for once at least. It doesn't have to always be angst. Whatever the fuck this is, I rest my case. We're starting to get a little crazy with the brother-sister complex, okay? If they're actually related by blood, then they should not be love interests. Please. I am already messed up from my time reading Vampire Knight when I was younger. That is not cool. Sometimes it gets really weird, especially that one guy from Black Clover who was like, my sister, nosebleeds. She's a child. I'm getting a little tired with generic male leads. I get that sometimes a generic male lead is important for certain shows that make it easier for your audience to imagine themselves being that main character in like that show. But I feel like there's like layers to that, right? Like the character doesn't have to be like no personality, but OP and just crushes everyone. To a certain extent, you need to create their own backstory and make them have their own decisions. If it's at the very start, if that character is very passive and that character doesn't have like a lot of personality, that makes sense, right? But if you throw a random nobody into a situation that's like extreme and crazy, like, oh, isekai into another world, you know, eventually their personality is gonna change. Once like that catalyst happens, their life's never gonna go back to normal, right? And so once introduced to all the weirdness, eventually they're gonna have to change and adapt to those situations. They're not gonna still be that generic male lead. Like, I don't mind if we start off that way, but eventually there's a point where they're gonna have to start making solid decisions. I don't want to see no she breasted boobily down the stairs, okay? Like, I can respect certain levels of fan service. You know, if it's like in a show that's specifically made for adults, those harem, those like very like more mature stuff, like, you know, or like ecchi, I can respect that, right? But I don't want corn in my magical girl show, okay? Like, I can respect a good beach episode. I also think that sometimes fan service, there's situations where there shouldn't be fan service. For example, uncomfortable situations with children involved, or like, you know, they're in a fight scene and suddenly there's a lot of things jiggling around. There's a time and there's a place. I'm also tired of animes where there's a harem but the main character is clueless. I feel like in a reverse harem, because it's a bunch of men interested in one female, they're usually a lot less obvious, because since it's targeted more towards women, it's like more nuanced to it. But then when it's like a regular harem where it's like the male and then there's a bunch of females, sometimes they'll make it so obvious too. And just for it to be like, I don't know, I think everyone hates me, pretending like what's going on isn't going on. Sasuke Uchiha. That's it. Last but not least, villains who don't get a redemption arc. I know that this isn't a uber super popular anime. When I think of villains that don't get a redemption arc, that deserve a redemption arc, I think of Servamp. Because in Servamp, there's this one character, I'm pretty sure his name's Hyde. He ends up, you know, before he could like get his redemption, and it's so frustrating because it sets it up for redemption just for him to not, for the audience to not get that satisfaction. I think that's really stupid. Or characters who get a redemption arc that don't deserve it. Anyway, losers, if you want to support my channel, please subscribe and watch other videos. I have another video similar to this one. I usually put it here. And yeah, stay weird. I suck at outros. This is just gonna be my thing now.